Hey, this is Danny from Scare Talk. Before we get into all the horror greatness, I gotta let you know about Anchor. Anchor is the host site that we use to record our podcast. Anchor will upload your podcast to Apple and Spotify and many other listening platforms. Anchor is completely free, and you can download the app or go to the website, anchor.fm, and you can record straight on there. There's also some cool editing tools that you can use. Did I mention that it's free? Yeah, so if you want to make a podcast, Anchor is the way to go. Go check it out. Now, for the spooky stuff.
Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror fans. This podcast will cover horror movie reviews, ratings, and rankings. Now for your hosts, Danny and Joel.
Oh yeah, it's Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I'm here with the ferocious Joel.
Hey guys, what's up?
Today, we're going to talk about the brand new Netflix series, Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yes.
From this year, 2020.
From this year.
This is the second installment in the Haunting series. The first being Haunting of Hill House, which was amazing.
Yes.
And then we got this one a couple years later. So, Joel, who do we have for this one?
All right, so this one's starring Victoria Pedretti. She's Danny. She was in The Haunting of Hill House.
She's not me.
Danny with an I.
Oh, okay.
I think that's how you spelled her name. She's in the You TV show.
Yes.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think she has a small part in that one. And then we also have Rahul Kohli. He's Owen.
Okay.
He's in iZombie, the TV show.
Oh, okay.
He was in, I think, the entire series of that. And he's going to be in Midnight Mass, the next Mike Flanagan series that he's doing.
It's a series?
It's a series, yeah.
Okay.
And he's also in Harley Quinn, the TV show.
Oh.
The animated TV show. And also Tahira Sharif. She's Rebecca. I was going to do a couple of other ones. Miss Gross, Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't really have that many stuff on her resume. So I wanted to do someone that had more.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys just do like shorts. And that's about it until this. I mean, the stuff she's been in hasn't really been that great, but she was in A Christmas Prince, which I think is a Hallmark movie.
Okay.
The Invisible Woman, which is a Charles Dickens biography.
Okay.
From, I think came out like 2013. And a movie that's not out yet, but it's in post-production called The Kindred. It's a post-production thriller.
Okay.
So yeah, and this was written by Mike Flanagan. He wrote one of the episodes. I think he wrote the first episode.
Okay. And
he wrote Ouija, Origin of Evil, Hush, and Oculus, along with Haunting of Hill House, the entire series. We have Diane Ademu John. She wrote Medium, like episodes of Medium, the originals, and Empire.
Okay.
Julia Bicknell, 13 Reasons Why.
Okay.
Michael Clarkson and Paul Clarkson, I think they're brothers, did a show. It's coming out in 2021 called The Wheel of Time.
Okay.
And Michael Clarkson did The Feed, which is a series as well. A lot of these guys did series. James Flanagan.
Oh.
Nothing else.
Okay.
I think he wrote the second episode
All
of
right.
this series. And he hasn't done anything else. So I guess I think it's his brother is Mike. And he's like, I'll give you a shot.
Yeah.
Leah Fong. She did The Magicians, the TV show, Once Upon a Time. And Amazing Stories, which is an Apple TV show. Rebecca Klingel.
Okay.
Haunting of Hill House. I'm assuming she wrote an episode with Mike Flanagan.
Okay.
And a 2020 series called Borrasca. Angela Lamanna. She did Hannibal, the series, Channel Zero, which is a TV series, and The Punisher, episodes of that. And Laurie Penny, a 2021 series called The Nevers. So a lot of these people, like a lot of their writing projects aren't even out yet. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of cool, actually. This also had a few directors as well. Well, we're done with the writers. It only took a half an hour to get through the writers. This one was directed by Kieran Foy. He did Sinister 2, Eli from 2019, and a movie called The Wilding.
Okay.
Liam Gavin, A Dark Song in 2016. Ben Howling did a movie called Cargo in 2017, and Drunk History Australia. Yolanda Ramke also did Cargo 2017. Axel Carolyn, Soulmate in 2013, and Tales of Halloween. And then we've got Mike Flanagan, the newcomer Mike Flanagan. Before I Wake, Gerald's Game, and Absentia. I think that was his first movie he directed. And then E.L. Katz did Swamp Thing, the Scream TV series, and ABCs of Death 2. So there's a lot going on with those. Yeah, with the writing and directing.
All right, so this one is about after an au pair's tragic death.
Au pair.
After an au pair's tragic death, Henry hires a young American nanny to care for his orphan niece and nephew who reside at Bly Manor, with a chef Owen, groundskeeper Jamie, and housekeeper Mrs. Gross. That's about it. So that doesn't sound very scary.
It doesn't.
Sounds like a family drama or something.
Yes.
Or Mary Poppins.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. So let's talk about...
Where do you want to start with this one?
We can... I mean, the last Hill House, had so much to say about all the different characters. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can do that, I guess. What'd you think of Flora?
Flora? Starting with the young ones first.
We're not going to do spoilers.
No spoilers.
No,
okay.
This is
I mean, it is very new.
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be harder with no spoilers. But I think we can make this though. Make it work. Flora, in 2 words, was simply splendid.
No, was it perfectly splendid?
I thought it was perfectly. Oh yeah, perfectly splendid. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
She said that like a million times in the first episode alone.
Mm-hmm.
The acting in these actors was really good.
Yeah.
Flora did a really good job.
Yeah.
I liked her character a lot. It's hard to find good child actors, and they don't seem to have a problem with it with the Haunting crew.
No, yeah, very good.
Yeah. So I liked her character. There is a lot going on with the characters themselves. Yeah. They're a lot deeper of characters than you would think off the surface.
Yeah.
And she's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
She has this. She's in the first episode alone. There's like when you first see her, she's this like really happy little girl, really cute, happy little girl. But then she's got like this sinister side, kind of.
Yeah.
Toward like, especially like even in the first episode alone when she's in the bath.
Yeah.
She like that smile just disappears after a minute, and it's like, okay, well, you're kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So I like that, and it kept a little bit of mystery, especially when you're going into a show. You have no idea what it's going to be about.
Yeah.
It is about the turn of the screw. So I mean, it's a story that's been that was created in like the 1800s, So it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're familiar with it, you're kind of familiar with the subject matter in the story. But yeah, her character was, yeah.
Yeah, I thought she did good acting.
Mm-hmm.
That the character was was cool. The the story that went with the character, the overall story of the show that really focused or that included both the kids in different ways.
Yeah.
We'll say that was good. I thought that was cool. And Miles as well, the boy, he's definitely more sinister.
He is. He definitely is.
But I thought he did a good job playing both the sinister Miles and the regular
Miles.
Miles. Do you have anything to add for Miles?
Not a whole lot. I do. That character kind of got on my nerves after a while. But there is a reason why. Throughout the entire show, why he is the way that he is and why he acts the way that he acts.
Yeah.
And I really like the dynamic between the two of them, especially when because they're kind of playing two characters.
Yeah,
they're playing themselves, but then they have like the sinister side to them as well.
Right.
That they play off of each other really well too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, I like those kid actors, and I hope that they actually end up having a career after this show, because they're both really good. Yeah,
I agree. What'd you think of Danny, the au pair?
The au pair, the new au pair. I liked her character. I liked probably the majority of the characters in this story.
Yeah.
There is an exception or two.
Okay.
But she's not one of them. Her character was very sweet, like innocent type of a character going into this crazy world. She, again, I don't know what it is about this actress and giving her a tragic backstory.
Yeah.
It's the second time. Like
she does.
She has a tragic backstory in this one. And she had one in Haunting of Hill House. Mm-hmm. And kind of similar backstories too, to a certain extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part of it's similar. So, yeah, I like that they gave her a backstory like that going into it. Because, I mean, it's not... This story is not black and white at all.
Yeah, no.
I mean, that's Mike Flanagan for you anyway. Yeah. But there's a tragic backstory for her going into this new world that she's unfamiliar with, coming from America to England. Yeah, she just played that role really well.
Yeah, I thought she did pretty good. Yeah, well, there's a backstory. I mean, I think she did some good acting, but I didn't really care about her.
Really?
As much as I think I should have, with her being basically the main character.
Yeah.
I didn't really care. Like, she could have just died and it would have been fine. So, well,
she had to have her own ghosts that she's
like
battling.
It's inevitable to have to compare Hill House to Bly Manor, even though they're completely different.
They are
still the same creators, so I'm gonna compare, and this same actress. I felt for her way more in Hill House than in this one. Almost every character in this one, I didn't care as much about as I did in Hill House.
Yeah.
The main characters in Hill House, the way they were written and acted, I think I cared way more for them than these ones.
I find it funny, going back to the comparisons. What do you think makes an anthology, like series or movie? It's just there's a similar theme that connects an anthology. Yeah. Like if you were... And there's themes definitely in this, and there are themes in Hill House, but they are completely different in every aspect.
Pretty much.
It's like a completely... I mean, some directors have some of the same actors in other movies that they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're completely different in every aspect as well. It's like if you go on to HBO and you look up True Detective, you'll see seasons 1, 2, 3 on there, like together.
Right.
If you go on to, I think it's on Netflix, American Horror Story.
Right.
You'll see all of their seasons are together.
Right.
But Hill House and Bly Manor are separate.
They're separate.
They're not. So I don't even really consider this a anthology series. I mean, there's haunting in the title of both of them.
Yeah.
But that's really the only thing that's connecting them.
Yeah. And I mean, the giant house.
Well, yeah.
A giant haunted house with some of the same actors and same creator.
Yeah.
So those are the things that tie it together. But yeah, it's it's not necessarily an anthology, I guess. So.
But yeah, I mean, still though,
it's advertised as such.
Yeah, it is.
So,
but yeah, so I mean, yeah, it is inevitable to compare the two.
Yeah.
But you know, if you haven't watched the series yet, go in blind. Don't expect anything like Hill House.
Yeah.
For the series.
Yeah.
And yeah, You'll enjoy it a lot more if you do that, as opposed to if you're going to compare the two seasons.
Right.
So,
yeah, and that's hard to do, you know, because they are connected. So, you know, that's hard to not think of the other series. And so, if this was like called, let's say, what is it? Turning of the Screw?
Turning of the Screw, yeah.
If it was just called that, then maybe it wouldn't be as comparable, you know? But the fact that the title is so similar, and if they didn't have some of the same actors in it, you know, maybe it wouldn't be as comparable as Hill House.
Yeah.
It's the same creator, so I think you're going to compare Mike Flanagan to other Mike Flanagan movies, you know? Like, when I think of Stephen King, or I think of the Coen brothers, or whatever, these, like, well-known filmmakers, I'm going to compare their movies, even though they're not connected. You know, I'm going to kind of still compare.
Yeah.
So, like, Quentin Tarantino, especially, I think he gets a lot of comparisons from his movie to, you know, his next films. And
yeah.
So, anyway, so let's talk about some of the people that work at the house, like the chef, the gardener, and the housekeeper.
Yeah.
What do you think of them?
I liked their characters. There are some really powerful speeches in this show. That's definitely one thing on this show that's similar to Hill House is the writing.
Yeah.
They know how to write a story.
Right.
And so there's a speech, and I think it's like episode 6 with Jamie and Danny, when Jamie's telling her backstory, and then she goes into another speech as well. That's like, it can be construed as a little bit morbid, I guess, but it was still a really good speech that she gave for that.
See, this series, the speeches bored me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I was just like, okay, you're trying too hard. And again, the characters, I just didn't really care about them that much. And so when they were just talking, I was just kind of spacing out at times. And so for me, I have a thing with accents. So that almost everybody has an accent in this movie. Somehow, Pete has like an Irish accent. I don't know if you picked up on that, but everybody else has an English accent. Yeah, but his is Irish somehow.
Maybe he came from Ireland.
It's a thick Irish accent too. It's like over the top Irish. But so I have a hard time sometimes understanding what they're saying. And so maybe that's part of the reason why
I have subtitles on mine when I'm
when
I watch stuff. Yeah, because even if I can, I mean, I usually don't have a problem understanding what people are saying. Sometimes with an accent, it can be a little bit more difficult. But you know, even when you can understand fully what they're saying, you still miss certain stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's why I tend to have subtitles on, because I want to be able to catch everything that's going on.
So you're losing your hearing.
No. Did not say that.
But yeah, it was just, I don't know, just kind of bored me. And I felt like there were so many speeches, monologues, whatever you want to.
Yeah,
call
there
them.
were a few. I mean, you know, there were a couple that I really liked of the monologues. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a lot more talking in this, probably, than even there was in Hill House.
Yeah.
But there were a few speeches that I really liked.
Yeah.
In it, and that Jamie one was one of them.
Okay.
Talking about her life story and everything. Owen is probably my favorite character in the show.
He's the chef.
Yeah, he's the chef.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the one you first see driving her to Bly Manor.
Yeah.
And then you find out he's the chef there too. And I like, he's probably seems to be the only like normal person in the entire show. Besides maybe Jamie. Jamie is she's the gardener.
Yeah.
And she's got a little bit of an attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as
I did not like her
really
until maybe the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
She'd
she's
seemed
in it the
more,
most in that one than anything else.
Yeah, the last episode she seemed more relatable. Like I cared about her more.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's something that happens that makes you care about her more.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was just kind of obnoxious and irritating to me for most of the show. You can see where I'm going here. I'm not a huge fan of the show so far, but there are some good things.
Yeah. I mean, the difference for me is Hill House had time to digest with me. Like I watched it the first week that it came out, opening weekend. I think I binged it that weekend. And like I had more time to process everything that was going on with that one, and I watched it 2 more times since then. I just finished the show yesterday.
Okay.
So it's still like, if I'm missing some stuff in this, I'm sorry, people. I do want to go back and rewatch this show again, just to see what things that I may have missed in it, and just to relive it again in a different perspective, knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I do really like the story that they're telling in this show.
Okay.
It's just there's still quite a bit that I think I may have like missed, as far as, because like I was saying, this is not a black and white type of show. There's definitely some themes going on within the show itself.
Yeah, there's layers to it.
Yeah. Honestly, there's probably more layers than there is in Hill House.
Yeah.
In this show.
Maybe. No, I disagree.
You disagree? I just, I mean, if not more, like just as many. Like there's more than just one thing going on in the show. There's multiple things. And I want to go back and rewatch it just to catch everything that I possibly can.
Yeah.
But having said that, I do like the show.
Okay.
It was a good show. And Hannah is another one that's,
she's the housekeeper.
She's a housekeeper, yeah. Mrs. Gross. And she, as far as the characters go, she's probably the most complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of all of them.
Yeah, I was getting really confused in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
With her. They do this thing where it's like repeating things that have already happened.
Yeah.
And I was getting really confused. Like, okay, I get what's
like,
happening,
is this a Christopher
but
Nolan movie?
I'm like, does she know that this is like? I don't know. It was confusing me.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, there's a lot to her for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's at least 2 themes to this show. There's the theme of love, which is throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
And the theme of, I think, memory.
Okay.
Is a big one, especially, there's moments here and there throughout the entire show that they go back
Mm-hmm.
to something.
Yeah.
Something happens, they go back to some memory that they had.
Yeah.
And so I think memory is a big theme of this show.
Okay.
Along with love.
Yeah.
So with her character, like I was saying, she's very complex, and you understand why she's such a complex character throughout the show, especially in one episode. Like they really they give her own episode, and it's honestly probably one of, if not my favorite episode.
Is it the one I'm talking about where it's confusing?
Is it her episode?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one confused me.
Yeah. So yeah, as far as those characters go, Owen's probably my favorite, and Mrs. Groves, Hannah, is the most complex.
Okay. What about Henry? The uncle.
Henry,
he's pretty complex.
He is a complex character, and
I like the character.
I do too. Yeah, I'm confused. I don't think we really got a. I mean, we kind of did get a closing for his character, but at the same time, I feel like it kind of was left open.
Okay. A
little bit. But he definitely does have a complex character. There's a lot going on with that guy that you don't really find out about until the last half of the series.
Yeah.
You just think he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the show. It's like, all right, well, this guy doesn't really care about his family.
Yeah.
I guess.
Like, and why wouldn't he want to live there with them?
Yeah.
Like,
he's too busy.
And he never even sees them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I do like Henry. I do like that character a lot. It's hard to talk about, especially that character alone, without going into, like, spoilers.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he's definitely not a black and white type of character. There's definitely layers to that character, which they do talk about later on in the show. But I do like him, too. Besides Owen, probably my second favorite character.
Yeah, yeah. I think me too.
Yeah.
What about Pete? And
Pete.
What's her name?
Mrs. Jessel, I think. Something. Rebecca.
Yes. Pete and Rebecca. Rebecca is the old au pair who died.
Yeah.
And then Pete is the old... well, not old Owen, but he was... What was he, like a chauffeur?
No, I don't know what he did, but he worked for Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he may have been a chauffeur for Henry.
I know he was driving.
Yeah.
So, but I think he did more than that. But what do you think about that? He
was like them? Henry's like
partner,
second-hand man.
Yeah.
When I was saying that I do like most of the characters except for a couple, he's one of them. I didn't like his character.
Much. Yeah.
He had the actor. He does really good with those type of roles. I liked him. He is basically the same character as Invisible Man.
Yeah.
And just
unlikable, with a really, really thick accent.
Yeah.
He was hard to understand for me sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah.
I feel like I couldn't grasp him. He was hard for me to know how to feel.
Yeah.
Because it was like... I felt like he was like kind of a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of had good intentions. But then there were certain things that he did that... No, not good intentions, but it's like this love story at the same time. So, do you want it to be a happy ending? And I don't know. I couldn't grasp how I wanted to feel about Pete.
Yeah, I didn't really...
Because he wasn't like openly evil.
Yeah,
no. He wasn't like in your face evil.
Mm-hmm.
He was...
He had that one scene with Rebecca.
Yeah.
But that's really the only, like, as far as like evil goes, that's as far as... it went with him.
Yeah.
And that was just like a pure like jealousy type of thing.
Yeah.
Way over the top. But, I'm sure there are people like that in the world. But yeah, I don't know. There was just, I never really trusted him from the beginning. Like, the first time you see him is from, like,
Yeah.
a distance.
Yeah.
And Danny sees him.
Yeah.
And it's like, who is this guy?
Yeah. And then what about Rebecca?
Rebecca, I don't know. I mean, we didn't get a lot of time with either one of these characters.
Yeah.
We got a couple of episodes, but we didn't even see Rebecca until like episode 3 or 4. And same with Peter. Like, I don't think we really saw him until at least episode 3.
He didn't show up until a few in.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I feel like this show could have been like 3 episodes. 4 at the most. And honestly, if it wasn't for doing this podcast or having seen Hill House, I probably wouldn't have finished this.
Yeah.
I probably would have stopped watching 3 episodes in, maybe. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about positives, though.
You're jumping the gun.
So we got through a lot of the main characters. To me, Rebecca. No,
I'm thinking. I don't think we. I think we covered pretty much everybody.
Yeah. There is the lady in the lake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She has her own episode.
Yeah.
And she doesn't. She has her episode where she actually has lines, but other than that, she is just this ghost.
Mm-hmm. The faceless ghost.
Yeah, the faceless, melting mannequin looking looking thing. She's the horror of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
She's what constitutes this as a horror thing.
Yeah. I mean, there is that ghost that Danny's seeing.
Yeah.
But then that goes away after her episode.
Yeah.
So you don't even see it anymore.
Yeah.
Once you find out, when she's, I guess, come to terms with it.
Yeah.
Because that was more... And that's another thing, too. Like, there's a theme, especially with her, is guilt.
Sure.
And I don't think that was actually ghosts. That was just her guilt following her to England with her. And then I guess once she falls in love again, the ghost goes, like, her guilt goes away. Because after that episode, like, she's... Yeah, I mean, you don't see you don't see the spirit after that. Like, you don't see her guilt after that episode. And it's like, okay, well, after we find out what that is,
then it's done.
That's it. Like, and
so that's some of that is part of my negatives.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about positives.
Okay.
So what'd you like?
I really liked the acting in this show. A lot of the positives are gonna probably be the same positives as Hill House, which is the acting and the story.
Yeah.
I do like the story and the writing as well.
Okay.
I wish that Mike Flanagan had done this himself.
Yeah.
Like he did Hill House.
Yeah.
I'm glad I like that he gave other people an option, like an opportunity to have their own episode.
Right.
But I want to know what his actual vision for this was.
Yeah.
I want to know what his story would have been if he had just been the only writer and only director for this show. Mm-hmm. I feel bad about the writer that got stuck with the history, the backstory of Bly Manor.
Okay.
Because I'm glad we got that episode. I liked getting the backstory of Bly Manor.
Yeah.
Like that. It's just really big shoes to fill. Like, you're actually giving the story a backstory.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they did a good job. I liked the backstory for that.
Yeah.
We got to see Theo come back.
Right.
And they had like 5 actors from Hill House in the show, which I liked. But, we didn't talk about the storyteller.
Oh, no. Yeah, so there's like a narrator, basically, and she's telling a story, telling the story to a group of people at a wedding.
At a wedding, yeah. Yeah, we find out who that is later on in the series as well.
Yeah.
So I liked the acting, and it didn't have those, like, sweeping moments, sweeping scenes like Hill House did with the camera work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't have any of that in this show, which I kind of was bummed about. And yeah, I don't know. I liked the story and the writing, and the acting was pretty much like the biggest things for me.
Okay.
So
yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, while some of the story was boring to me, I like the overall story.
mm-hmm.
I think it's like a pretty story.
It's like a fairy tale.
Yeah. It's kind of like a fairy tale, like a dark fairy tale, I guess. Which is, kind of cute.
And after what happens in a certain scene, I think in the last episode, it really felt fairy tale like.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah. So yeah, don't go into this thinking you're gonna watch necessarily a horror show. I mean, there are, like we said, the Lady in the Lake.
Yeah.
And there is that
There's
threat
ghosts
and ghosts
in it. It's a ghost story.
Yeah.
It's not scary. It's not a horror show. It's a ghost. It's a ghost story with
romance,
with love. Like it's a love story with ghosts. That's what it
there
is.
we go.
Yeah,
that's a better way to say it. It's very romanticized.
It is.
But yeah, I did feel like for what the story was, it was written well, acted well, directed well.
All right.
I think that's about it. Yeah.
For the positives.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a feeling your negatives are going to be more than you had for Hill House.
I'm gonna try to step lightly with my negatives to not give away too much.
Yeah.
So, you go first.
Okay. So with me, I think the biggest negative, and it's probably one of the biggest for you too, is the pacing of the show.
Yeah.
It definitely was slow for a good portion of it. It sped up after a while.
Yeah.
But it took a while to get there, which I don't usually mind because that's your character building moments is the slow moments. You're trying to get to know these characters. But we had already gotten to know them at the point that it was still like kind of slow.
Yeah.
So the pacing, I think, is probably my biggest complaint that I have for it. Like I said, I do like the story itself and everything. So, but I mean, pacing can cause problems.
Yep.
With a show or a movie, and that is my biggest complaint that I have right now. I have another one. I just can't think of it right now for some reason.
Okay, well, maybe once I get into mine, you'll go on.
Maybe one of yours is the one I'm thinking of.
So yeah, I agree. The pacing, it was slow. Because of that, I probably wouldn't have finished it. One of my biggest negatives is there are certain things that happen that, like we were talking about with one of the ghosts, and then it just goes away. And then that storyline is kind of done.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of that stuff was interesting, but then it just goes nowhere. And then it doesn't really matter. I mean, yeah, maybe it matters for certain themes that they're going for, and certain maybe they thought it was going to develop characters more or something. But to me, some of the stuff was like, okay, that's kind of creepy. What's going to happen with that? Yeah. And then nothing happens with that.
Yeah.
And it's not just that one thing. There's a few things with dolls and different things that just kind of went nowhere, and I wanted to go somewhere, at least have some sort of resolution,
Yeah.
Another thing that it bothered me was once you get to the end, there are certain rules that are put in place that you just have to buy for the story. So it sets up its own rules for how things happen at this Bly Manor.
Yeah.
And then it breaks its own rules. So it's not consistent with what it puts in place, because certain things happen that couldn't happen with other characters for some reason, but then these things work for other characters. And so I feel like the rules, while you understand them it makes you think maybe I didn't understand them because now you're doing it different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I didn't like that because I felt like you just had to go with it. You know, you just... And it was like they set up rules within the last couple of episodes because you're not understanding, as a viewer, you don't know why certain things are happening until like the last 2 or 3 episodes. Then you realize, oh, okay, this is why so-and-so did this or whatever. And so then you get on board with it, but then there are a couple things that happen that kind of go against that. So I really didn't like that. It made me, at the end, be like, okay, well, what about that? What about this? You know?
Yeah.
So, no. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And then my last negative is... So, I don't want to give away too much, but the beginning is this lady telling this story to a bunch of people and this ghost story or whatever.
Yeah.
And they say that they're at this house telling this story.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that it's like supposedly a haunted house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, "Oh, let me tell you a story about this other haunted house." And I was really hoping something was going to happen with the house they were in.
Oh.
I was really hoping it was going to go to like present day,
Mm-hmm.
and something was going to happen in that house. Like I thought that would have been cool to kind of go back and forth with the story and certain things that were happening in the home that they were telling the story in. But
yeah,
you know, so if you're watching the show and that's what you're hoping for, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't. But I want to say it, but it can't because
you can tell me after.
It's an entire spoiler for like the last episode. But I mean, there's a reason she's telling the story.
Yeah. No,
but yeah, I never thought that something was going to happen within that. I mean, it would have been cool to see, especially since we did hear that it was a haunted house.
Yeah.
And that's what led to her talking about Bly Manor. But I do understand why she told this story to this group of people.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. There was purpose for the story and why she told it to them. Mm-hmm. I was just hoping something else was going to happen because the horror is very, very minimal in this show. So I was hoping something else was going to happen. So
yeah.
And it didn't have to happen with those characters. Like it could have been other people at the home in the wedding or something, you know.
Yeah.
Could have been, you know, not them while they're sitting there listening to her, but somebody else or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that would have just made it even more convoluted. It was already
more ridiculous.
Yeah, it was all there was already a lot to kind of keep up with and different timelines and you know, so
yeah.
It would have probably been more confusing.
Just adding in this like horror element in the present day.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that is it. Do you want to grade it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So because of the pacing issue that I have, I still didn't think of the other negative that I had in there. So, as far as this goes, it's the only negative that I have for the show. But it is a big issue throughout the show. So that did lower it a little bit. I'm gonna have to giving this one an 85.
Wow. Okay, that's a pretty good score.
Yeah. It is. I mean, yeah, it is.
I mean, it's 15 points under your.
It is under Hill House. So. I know, but it is a good story, and everything else about it, like besides the pacing, is really the main issue for me that I had. So
yeah. All right, so I'm going 72.
Oh wow.
Like I said, I probably wouldn't have finished it if we weren't doing this.
Mm-hmm.
If we weren't doing this, but I might have finished it.
Because of Hill House?
Because of Hill House?
Yeah.
But if I didn't see Hill House, or that didn't exist, I definitely wouldn't have finished it. Because I would have been like, okay, this is not a horror story, so I'm done. Because that's what I'm wanting to see.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it did have its cute moments and, fairy tale type stuff. So, it connected characters kind of in different timelines and stuff. So I like that when movies are able to do that in shows. So but 72. Not anything good, not anything bad. We'll just
just like right in the middle there.
Right. It's alright. Alright. Well, that's our review for Haunting of Bly Manor. Find us on Facebook at Scare Talk Podcast, on Twitter at Scare Talk Pod, and you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Anchor, Castbox, and other ones.
We're everywhere.
Yeah. And we're all over the globe.
We are.
We are.
We're in 13 countries right now.
Yeah. 13 countries are listening to us.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. All right, and that's it. This has been Scare Talk.
Sleep tight.
Don't let the no-face lady bite.
Lady in the water?
The lady in the
lady
lake.
in the lake, yeah.
Don't let her bite.